Welcome back to the Tatooine Hangar. This is Mike. I'm coming at you with a review of the vintage collection Star Wars Tatooine Skiff, the 2019 model. And let me say, I'm very excited about this thing simply because I have been wanting an upgraded skiff forever. Now, I want to say that they made the vintage Tatooine Skiff and it was good. It was a good vehicle. It was not bad. But they put the same one out in 1997 and in I think 2002 or whatever. They put the same one out 3 times as re-releases and never did give us an upgraded, bigger one. And now they finally did, and I think this is awesome. I think that Hasbro knocked it out of the park. They did some really great things. This is super display quality, and we're gonna get into looking at this. But we're gonna start by talking about the box. So let's go ahead and take a look at the box here. Actually, this is the front, and this is completely different packaging. Like, I was wondering, would they make their own packaging or would they go with the vintage one? Now, the vintage one looked more like a model or something like that. You did not know you were buying a skiff that worked with the vintage figures back in the vintage day, based on the box. So, of course, this is more in line with the packaging that you're going to get if you bought a vintage vehicle. And this is the Return of the Jedi. The other one in the vintage line came out on Power of the Force. But there's some pictures. You see a couple more pictures. Side view. This is just awesome. Looks good. This is beautiful. This is how my extra one is going to stay in the box and get displayed. I just really excited about it. Really love the packaging. Really love everything about this thing. What it looks like in the packaging, and it's big. Like, just getting it in hand, and I'm like, wow, that is bigger than I expected, and I'm excited about it. It's like, I'm probably gonna say this in every video, but it doesn't seem interesting. Like, how are they gonna get rid of all the plastic in all this? Is this stuff gonna be floating loose in 2022? But who knows? Be interesting there. But yeah, this is how it looks, and so we're gonna get it out of here and get it put together. Okay, so here's all the parts and pieces kind of laid out, and it looks like a lot. It's not a lot. There's not a whole lot to this thing, but it's pretty cool. One of the things is kind of funny because you have a couple of panels you have to add that aren't added, but yet this panel was already on it. So it'll be easy right now to show you all the intricate work. Like, this is multiple layers painted with like a gold, and it's done so well. I'm really impressed with it. That there looks kind of weird, but there's that panel, covers it, and looks good. You could probably put some weapons and stuff in there. So let's go ahead and pop this piece on right there. There, that was easy. And then let's go ahead and put this guy on, and we're just gonna put that on there. Looks like it's gonna take more force than I would like. Make sure the hoses line up with the holes. Yeah. And then we have this one here. Place that in there. Yes. Very nice. And then you have this top piece here. Let's see how that's going to go in. Now this is the thinner pieces that I always worry about. You see stress marks on the vintage ones, or on the vintage style ones. They go in okay. They fit pretty tight. Let's get the back one on. The same way, more or less. Just push each tab in at the tab. Something like this feels like you should just be able to pop the whole piece on, but you've really got to make sure each tab's in there securely. And then I'm gonna go with, let's side. Can this fit on either side? This will be my right one. I'll go ahead and use the broken. Okay, so they can only tab one way. There's a thicker tab in the front, which is just the way it's made. Interesting. Okay, so I like that they made sure you can have two clean ones. That was a question I had about it. And then we're going to put it on this little pedestal here. And we're going to put it on this before we add these fins, because you don't want to set this down and bend the fins up. And that was another thing with the vintage one, another issue that we had. So you plug each of these in here, and then you plug these in to the top, or to the bottom of this, I'm sorry. Just give it a little bit of pressure, and that gives it the whole swiveling effect, which I guess it would swivel effect this way. Pretty interesting. Now, let's go ahead and get these on. I think I gotta kind of line them up, match them up, but this is gonna plug into here. So, yeah. Plug those bad boys in like that. And pop them on here like this. Some assembly required, I believe, on this guy, huh? And there he is, all put together. All right, let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at this thing all put together, and how does it look completely assembled? It just looks beautiful. The paint is awesome. There's just some washes to it. There's that little gunshot that it's gotten there. It just looks great. I almost wonder if it, because most people are going to get two of these anyway, to display two, because that's the way the scene is. But I almost wonder if like there'd be some different display options aside from just that. Like they could look a little different, but yeah, it's good. You got the fins here. You can do them however you want. Now the old one had these were adjustable. It's like a play gimmick. They got rid of that. So and I'm okay with it. And then this rail here is the broken rail from the scene, and I think that's really cool that they've got that on there. And then of course when it falls to the side, you can make a scene. We'll probably make a scene with that later. And this does look good. I like it. Now, it does have this feature. They can walk the plank here. And it's not, in the old one, there was a lever right here that would make this go out. And we'll do that comparison later on and show you that. But this right here, it really does. It does the job. This is all you need. You can put a little Luke on there and have them walk the plank and all that stuff. That works. They have all the features of the old one more or less, except they took out the mechanisms that made that thing break. So let's go ahead and compare it to a vintage one. And the first thing I want to say is right off the bat how much shorter the vintage one is to it. You're gonna see that, you're gonna notice that, and I like that it's bigger. I think bigger is better. And then here's another good size comparison. These rails here always break or get lost and they're hard to find. So that's the rail size difference, as you can see that. This is the extra rail that came with that. So that is awesome. That's like a size comparison thing. And I'll show you, we were talking about the gimmick here. This is how they walk the plank or whatever. It comes out, and then I gotta mess with mine, but it's not, extending far enough to make it fall. So just gotta mess with that. That's a vintage thing. And then this had landing gear that was retractable landing gear. So that's an issue there with the retractable landing gear. Is a challenge to get it to operate properly and all that stuff. And if you look at the coloring of it, this looks way more screen accurate than this did. This had very little paint on it, and it had the stickers. This is all painted, and I want to show you, well, you can tuck that back in, show you how much bigger it is. Can we get that in frame? So, you know, it's really, actually, pictures don't really depict it very well, and neither does this. But here they are from the front view, and the difference, and also the height of this. Of course, the little legs can only get this thing elevated so high. I think that it's really cool what they did with the whole scene to it. Of course, you can detach it and suspend it however you want. You can suspend it with wires or whatever you may want to do with it. That's cool also. But let's go ahead and look at the difference in the back and the fins. And like I was showing you, see, this is smooth and more screen accurate. This is thicker. This part here is thicker because it has this mechanism to make those go back and forth. This one is as big as it is, like that. They've got details that are thinner because it doesn't have to comply to make a mechanism work. So it's just so sleek and compact, and it's exactly what I would want out of a Tatooine skiff. Okay, so here it is in my little display here with the sail barge, and I'm going to show you a comparison with just a standard like a 90s skiff, which is a remake of the vintage, and the differences when you're displaying these things. The first thing I want to show you is I have 5 figures here, 2, 4, no, I have 6 figures on this one, and I've only got 5 over on that one. And that thing looks super crowded, and that was kind of the problem. Reenacting these scenes and having it look right, the fact that you can make it look right now is probably the most important part about this upgrade. The paint and the look and aesthetic and all that stuff, the gimmicks are great. But the fact that you can make the scene look good is probably the most important part of this. Love that thing. I still have to say there's some charm to the vintage one and the vintage mold, and I'm always going to want to have that in my display too. So I'm going to keep one of those in the box and display new and old, and have a little difference between the skiffs, because if you have 2 skiffs that are in service forever, one's going to look different, obviously. But difference in display options. This guy has no peg holes. I do use, for the figures that are harder to stand up, some of these little pieces here that's like a peg hole stand, and that works. And then the figures that stand okay, I don't bother with it. But generally it's just my last 17 figures. I just don't want them falling over a lot. But like this guy here, he's got a green one. And so with that, I don't really need the peg holes. They stand just fine, they work fine. And on that one over there, it has peg holes, but where they have the peg holes isn't where I put the figure, so it didn't really matter anyway. And I know that was kind of a discussion point. Like, well, it's actually the pegs. Do they have the pegs? And that discussion point, to me, I think it's better to have a better looking aesthetic, and the pegs are a non-factor. Now you can buy, because I got these for like $1 a piece, but you can buy those little stands to help them stand better if you have that problem. So this whole gimmick here is pretty much set up just so you can have, Han help Lando get up, but it's cool. It's cool that it works, and if that effect works for you, that effect works for you. It's not how I'm going to display mine though. I like that they did it. It's probably something I'm never going to do for like my display. I really prefer the pre-battle look for the whole scene, but it's something you can do, and it's pretty cool. So let me know what you think about the new skiff, the new upgraded skiff, the new updated skiff. Is that something you're interested in? Is that something you're even going to pick up? Are you happy with the old one? Are you going to mix the two like I'm doing? Let me know, like, subscribe, and Tiberium Hanger out.